morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome, hi, hello everyone. It's me, Choice Mini, Steve Thomas. Once again, we are back again. I don't want to say this is going to be the conclusion, but we are getting close to concluding our work on our Arch-Revenant. Glad to be able to bring this to you at a slightly different time. Probably going to be a little bit shorter stream today than we have been in the last couple of days. But look at our beautiful Arch-Revenant. So we got some work done on the blends on the glaive. But today, this morning, right now, we're going to be doing some work on some wings. So early this morning, I spent some time. I put a little bit of an oil wash over top of our wings here. We're going to work on that now. Working in oil paint's a little different than, not necessarily all that different, but a little different from what most people are working with. So, and I like to work with them in a slightly different way. So I applied, a little over 2 hours ago. I applied my black wash here. Let's turn off the airbrush. Sorry, I was cleaning the airbrush. So I applied my oil wash here a couple of hours ago. Since then, I've been letting it dry. The wonderful thing about oil paints is that they are viable for quite a long time after they've been applied to the model. And we're going to start off. So these are makeup sponges. You can get literally hundreds of them for pennies off of Amazon. What I'm doing with these is I'm just going to wipe off a lot of what you can see on there. And these are just dry right now. You guys saw me put a little bit of white spirit into my little specimen cup there. But what I'm really starting off with right now is I want to get the majority of this stuff off with our makeup sponges before we ever touch. Before we touch the white spirit. We will come to the white spirit. It will play an important part in this. But I can get rid of the majority of this paint without ever touching the white spirit. And these things are very, very gentle. They're incredibly soft. Like, I've gone through and found sort of the softest ones I can find. If you are interested in purchasing these, there is an Amazon affiliate link in the description of the video on YouTube. If you are watching on Twitch, on the VODs on Twitch, or you want to come back to that later, I am at some point going to prepare the website with a series of articles about this guy, because I feel like that's something I wanted to try doing and haven't really been doing so far. So, but we are using these makeup sponges to remove the majority of this paint back off of the model. And you can ask yourself, why did we even put it on there in the first place? If you really wanted to sound like a bad impersonation of Jerry Seinfeld. But if you wanted a better reason for why did we put it on there in the first place, well, the answer is because this is a really efficient way of making a wash work. Now, yesterday we put gloss varnish on all this, and that's why this actually comes off this easily, is because the gloss varnish is on there, and how I'm able to be kind of this hard on it without it destroying the acrylic paint underneath. And this is it's not really contentious. It's just there is some amount of oil paint that you can put on to, and lots of techniques for applying oil paint to models over acrylics that does literally like no damage. Like you can put it on there and take it off. There's very little rubbing. There's very little friction. It's not going to cause damage to the model. But I am a little bit harder in this technique than I think generally people are when they're doing this. But now that we've sort of got it to this point, I'm going to use, so these are just larger versions of the same thing. It's very, very fine open cell or closed cell foam. And you guys can see I am now wiping the bottoms of the wings with corners of this stuff, because I want to remove as much as possible of this oil wash now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our makeup sponges, the smaller ones, we're going to use those smaller makeup sponges and use some of the white spirits that I decanted out into our little specimen cup here. What I've decanted out into there is what we're going to use to really get the remainder. So you guys can see that there is a little bit of remaining oil wash that is either entered into some of the cracks in the glazing because I was being impatient, very impatient last night. I was trying to get it all done on stream last night, and I should have just waited longer. There's no substitute for giving things the proper amount of time to dry, and it's bitten me. Like I kind of figured it would last night. Using the hairdryer to try and speed up varnish dry time is always a losing prospect for me. I always end up with crazing and whatnot. So best bet with this stuff is just let it dry in its own time. Apply it, let it dry. Don't try and rush that process too much. So now that we're coming in, I've just barely dampened our sponge, our makeup sponge here. And I'm going to use a combination of both ends of the sponge. So I've got one dry side of the sponge, I've got one wet side of the sponge. The wet side of the sponge is helping me to remove, to re-liquefy, I guess, reactivate using the white spirits. We're reactivating the oil paint with white spirits. And then I'm coming in with the dry side of the sponge and just moving and removing what I want from those areas. Really what I'm trying to do is refine the areas that have that wash in it, right? That I know that, but Choice, the wash is very dried, and you are absolutely correct. It is very dried. I'm mostly trying to keep this back into those wing membranes so that we can start to pick those out here in a second. But part of cleaning out those areas, like the areas between those sorts, the membranes, I guess, as opposed to whatever the area in between membranes is called. I don't know. I'm not an entomologist, but entomologist? I think it's entomologist for bugs. But I'm cleaning out that area between the wings. And I would have to be less aggressive with this if I hadn't had my bout of impatience last night. If we had just let the varnish, the gloss varnish, dry on its own instead of trying to speed it up with crazing that happened in the gloss varnish in the excuse me, in the surface, where I'm trying to now use white spirits and to remove it back out of those areas so that I can get my big dirty surfaces. So, but let's just make sure that this is all clean and looks the way that I want it to. So I'm cleaning the outside edges of the wings and stuff. Well, this isn't the fact, just fairly often here. As a sponge fills up with paint, like because they are literally just sponges. It's like a sponge that you use to do the dishes with and that sort of stuff. As they fill up with paint, they become less efficient at pulling the paint out of the places I want them to pull the paint from. But you can see we're pretty clean on those. There might be areas where I want to tamp down on the little areas in between a little bit more, but not too much now. For the most part, we are looking pretty clean on this side. I'm just trying to chase this stuff so that we still have all of our gradient showing through, but I really want that depth right around the membranes. And yes, we could do this with pin washes, with enamel washes. We could do it with just, there's a huge number of things we could do this with. It just happens that I like working with oil washes in this application because I can control how much is coming back off of the model with an oil wash in a way that is much more difficult to do with like Nuln Oil. Like if we wanted to do this with an acrylic wash with Nuln Oil or with Army Painter Black Tone, The issue is that I have to be very, very careful as I'm applying it, because I need to apply it only to the areas that I want. So I'm going to be applying it exclusively to those areas around the wing membranes, and really having to control where it's going with reductive processes like oil washing, where I can add just a flood of it and then come back in, especially in cases like this where I have nice defined areas that I'm trying to remove it from, right? Like there's nice little like pockets where we are pulling it back off of. In cases like this, it's pretty easy to see, like, you know, okay, well, I just smudge at it a bunch of times with the makeup brush. Like I apply a little bit more white spirit, smudge it off with the makeup sponge, and we keep going. And the nice thing about oil washes is that they aren't all or nothing either. Like using the modulation that's provided by dry sponge versus a wet sponge, and how long I've allowed the oil wash to dry and all the rest of that stuff, that really provides differences in how it comes on and off the model. And if I really want to, or I'm feeling it's chalky or something like that, I can come back with white spirits and reactivate the oil wash. And generally the pigment that is ground into high quality oil paints, so I'm talking about, like, for these guys I use sorry, the actual wash, didn't talk about that at all. It's a combination of black and Payne's Gray from Winsor & Newton. This is sort of a mid artist tier. It's not like the best stuff. I'd love to try Ablung at some point in the future, but I'm not that reliant on oil paints right now. I'm mostly using them for what you see here. So it's hard to justify, you know, $35, $40 Canadian for a tube of paint that I'm going to basically be using, not super sparingly, but somewhat sparingly. Like, I don't use a whole lot of it. The white spirit that I'm using is an odorless white spirit from Mona Lisa. I haven't always been happy with it. It's worked. I can honestly say that it has worked. But sometimes it leaves quite a residue, and I'm less happy with that residue being there, especially when you thin it down quite a bit. I've been thinning it probably more than I needed to in some cases, and in those cases it tends to leave a residue on the model itself that is very light and very, very noticeable. So when I'm using it, like I've used it in the past for weathering washes. So I'll combine, you know, like some cadmium orange or cadmium red and a variety of like burnt sienna and stuff like that. And in those cases, I tend to get a whitish residue that I'm certain is a combination of, because I make the washes extremely thin. I'm almost certain that it is a combination of the oil wash, like the oil paints themselves drying out, combined with what I'm using for my mixing medium, which is the Mona Lisa spirits, and it leaves a little bit of pigment behind, or deposit behind, which not great in my mind. I don't want that deposit left on the model. There we go. And this is the thing with oil washes too, is oil washes tend to look like oil washes when they're not well prepared. I've seen more than enough YouTube videos of people slapping down an oil wash and being like, and we're done. I don't like the way that looks. Even this is not a final version of this, right? Like, we are still going to be working to create more texture and color and stuff around it, but I really wanted that separation, and I wanted the like upper end gradients that we've achieved with this. Now, and by upper end achievement or gradients, I mean, like, you can see that with that black on there, you can see how it blends into all of the rest of our colors. In areas of deep shadow, I've left a lot of the wash behind. I haven't taken all that much off when we look at the very, like, into the tops of the wings, especially knowing that that is on our shadow side of our model and not particularly visible. I'm leaving quite large areas of wash behind because that's what I want to see. That's what. At any rate. But that's oil washing, at least in my opinion, in basic, right? The big thing with oil washes is do swap out your brushes fairly frequently. Use white spirits to help you dissolve the wash. Apply it well beforehand and let it come to what you would consider with like an acrylic paint. You would look at it and say like, okay, that is dry, and then reactivate from there. Don't feel like you need to apply immediately. Now, if you're not putting this over a gloss varnish, you want to work a little bit quicker. And I'm saying like give it 25-30 minutes to dry. Like give it some time to dry out before you start patting at it. But when it's not over a hardened varnish like a gloss varnish or even, you know, certain matte varnishes, it is going to stain the surface, and I also didn't want that so much. So what I would have to do if I was doing this, if I wanted to do this all in sequence and live, is apply an oil wash. I applied this using the airbrush, but you could easily apply it with a brush, like with a nice synthetic brush or even a cruddy synthetic brush. Slop it on there, pull it back off with the makeup sponges, reapply, go back and forth with it. It does take a little bit of back and forth, right? It's not a like one step and you're done process. Again, I'm seeing little parts of the wash that I'm like, maybe that's a little heavy. Maybe I need to blend that a little bit, so I'm going to come in with a slightly dampened. And again, the biggest priority for me is keeping these nice yellow wingtips, both the front and back of the model, because that's really going to sell our effect here in a moment as we start getting into making the twilight happen. So now that I'm kind of done futzing around with the wash, like with our oil washes, the next step is I want to seal this off because I want to keep working. If this was all I was doing today and like this was a personal project that I was like, okay, I'd leave this to dry for 24-48 hours and come back to it then. Like I'd start working on it once I knew it was fully dried. And you can paint over top of oil paints. Like if they are fully dried, if they are completely set, you can work over top of them. It's not much of an issue with that. It's not going to ruin the model or anything. The paint doesn't reactivate with acrylics. It will always reactivate with white spirits. So if you start adding more layers of oil wash, it will always reactivate. Well, to a certain extent, a really long time, months, it'll reactivate. So try not to reactivate it. But yeah. So let's seal this off. My regular old trusty standby, aka interactive ultra matte varnish. I'm gonna shoot this through the airbrush, approximately 22 to 23 psi, somewhere in there. Just a couple of drips right in the cup. Nothing crazy. I'm not mixing it or anything. And we will apply this in a couple of stages. So I'll apply it in thin coats because we don't want it to... Applying it thickly can sometimes lead to issues. I've never had it be a big issue with AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, but I know that applying thick layers of varnish can always be an issue, so thin layer. This is an acrylic varnish, unlike the Vallejo or the Liquitex stuff that I was using yesterday, and also the Ultra Matte nice thin coats tends to dry fairly quickly, so I'm just going to hit it real quick with the hair dryer. Give me 1 second. Alright, one go with the hairdryer, another layer of matte varnish, and then we'll start moving on, painting our the rest of the wings here. We're gonna work on the beetle this morning. I'm assuming this thing is a beetle. I don't really know. I called it a beetle yesterday and nobody called me on it, so far so good. We're going with beetle still. And one more time, we're gonna hit it with the oldie hairdryer. And then we'll start putting colors on our beetle. Wow. Or it'll fall off the blue tack and I'll have to deal with it. Alright, one more go with the hairdryer here. So, we've got it all dried, set. There's nothing, I couldn't touch that stuff on the inside if I wanted to now. It is set, it has done its thing. The oil wash is now an untouchable, inescapable part of the model. So, it's good. I like where we're at with this. The next step that we're gonna do here is we're gonna start applying paint to our beetle friend. So the beetle friend is going to be a little bit different than what we've done with other parts of this. I'm going to bring him up to a very, very high glossy state using just a variety of paint. We're going to start off with a combination of honestly it's going to be a combination of black and black forest green, which we've used in other places on the model. The black forest green to, either provide tonal shifts or color shifts and stuff. We've used it in the shadows on our Arch-Revenant here. So like the bottom of the shield is dark forest green. We've used it to create separation between the non-metallic metal gold elements on the staff and, in other places on the model, just to sort of give some definition, give some. This is where we're going to start introducing it as also our gem color. So we're going to use it on the beetle, on all his wings and whatnot, all of that stuff. But let's get into it. Let's get into A, mixing the color, and B, starting to apply it to the model. So scale color black, scale color dark forest green, which I've set down somewhere and can't see right now, is clearly within arm's reach because I have been using it a whole bunch in the last couple of days. Where did you go? There you are. All right. Here we go. Scale color black, dark forest green, going onto the palette. Let's make sure that we can see this on the palette. So I'm gonna mix it right here in the center. We'll start getting down to it. Put out a little squeeze of that. What's up, Mr. Ed? How you doing, man? Happy Saturday night. Well, Saturday night for you. Saturday morning for me. So let's mix those two colors before we get too far into it. Make sure that I like the color that we're going with. So we are going for quite a deep green, a very deep green right now, and we'll use the dark forest green, and then we'll use a little bit of the fall green, and together we'll be using those to create the colors on our bug, on our beetle friend. Let's start here. Just me today, Mr. Ed. Just me. Just us right now, I think. I don't know. Maybe other people have joined. Look at all two of you on there. I don't normally have my viewer count up, so.
Said Algie, finally in my man cave and putting together a vein hammer.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm hoping to get this guy done today. This is my big hope. We are very close in all sorts of parts. I'll probably get them together today. I don't know if we'll be done today or not, but we will definitely have our Arch-Revenant at least assembled, so all of his bits are together and close by. We'll probably be doing, I imagine I'm probably going to stream tomorrow as well, just the finish ups, because I'd like to show that process. I haven't really gotten to on the stream. Most of the stuff that I've done so far has been like, okay, let's get this to like 75, 80%, and then when we're doing the final assembly, that's when the magic happens. And it truly is, because I like to do things in sub-assemblies. I like to do things where I'm evaluating light and stuff in situ, so it's all together, it's all making a full composition all at once, and doing that is more difficult on the armies. I think the only one I've actually gotten to do that with is on stream. Oh, what's his name? Our Dark Angel. The Dark Angel got entirely. He was 100% in. So if you guys are interested, I run a series normally on Tuesdays called Project Neverfallen, where Adam and I are exploring the world of Warhammer. Or sorry, I guess Warhammer 40k. But we're going through 40k and we're reimagining all the Space Marine chapters basically as if the heresy never happened. And what all 20 chapters would look like. So right now we are working, well, we haven't been for the last couple of weeks, but we are working our way through the third chapter. We have skipped the second Legion or second chapter, gone straight to the third Legion. So we did a Dark Angel that is complete. You can watch all the VODs for that on our YouTube channel. But that guy is entirely done. So we have a Dark Angel out there. Dark Angel Deathwing companion who is becoming a Deathwing, basically completing his journey to becoming part of the Deathwing by murdering one of the Fallen. And we talk all about the lore of the model and theory craft and discuss the history of the Dark Angels and all the rest of it on the VODs, because, you know, what better to do than sit around lore crafting while we're talking about minis. So if you would like to watch that, the series is under Project Neverfallen. But today, yeah. But today, and hopefully today, maybe a combination of today and tomorrow, I'm going to get this guy done. We are going to finish up our Arch-Revenant, because it is the end of my week off, and being the end of my week off, I have to return to regular life come Monday morning, so we'll either complete this today or tomorrow. I'm not certain which, but it will be done. And then I can return to the real world of having a day job and not, you know, entirely scheduling my life based off of when I feel like streaming the next day. That's not true. It's not entirely based off that, but there's been a concern a thought this week, not a concern. I really enjoy doing this, so I like talking about painting, even if it's just to get my process straight by having to say it out loud. It feels hugely helpful to me to be doing this. So thank you, Mr. Ed, and all of the other, you know, viewers, followers who have been along on this journey, because it's nice to have to vocalize all of it, I think. Just having to both vocalize and rationalize what exactly I'm doing and why I'm doing it has been interesting. I've helped other new painters come along. I've gotten friends into the hobby. And it's never quite the same. because you know it's always like, let's talk through the basics, and we're sitting across the table from each other, and you're not necessarily watching my hands as I'm doing this and all the rest of it. But that's basically all I give you guys, is let's watch my hands while I paint this model. Also, sometimes you can see my palette. So why are we starting from such a dark green? I want this to look different than the rest of them, but I also want to create a very high gloss surface. Like we're ending up rendering a very, very glossy surface. And the best way to do that is to start from extreme shadows, I find. Start from extreme shadows and work your way up through a mix. I know that there are other opinions on how effective this is, that you can start from the midtones and work your way either direction from there. Cool. That works for you. That works for you. I'm doing the things that work for me, so. Let's make sure that we at least painting near the stream. Now, I think it's becoming clear why I spent the time to do the oil wash and why we chose a nice dark and cool color for the oil wash. Because I knew I was coming in with this green color. And this green color, as well as being very dark, fades very well into that, into our oil wash. So it provides a little bit of a buffer on the model. This sort of thing, especially with the detail of the gradient and all the rest of it, this is the sort of thing where I, as a painter, know that if I am all over the place on this and it was just straight transitions from straight, very hard lines between the elements, I would just never paint this. I would have chosen a nice harsh color, or it would take me like 3 hours to paint the little wingling bits.
Just put something down, you can never find it.
Mindlessness? The thoughtlessness of putting down the item and then having to chase it down again? That is going to be my answer on that one. That is always how it works for me. Is I put something down. I don't think about what I'm doing when I'm putting it down. It is always just like put it down, wander away, wander around my house for an hour being like, I know I put it down. For example, coffee cups. Coffee cups are my favorite to do that with. Coffee cups and tape measures. I need to, okay.
Said I lost my file.
Oh. Hobby stuff. This is the wonder and glory of having everything in one room. Well, not everything in one room, but having most of my hobby stuff in one room right now is that the drawer full of hobby stuff is literally just to my right hand. We figured out yesterday that there were certain things that are in the other room, but I think today I managed to get it all into this room before I started the stream. Yesterday was a series of trips back and forth because most of the terrain stuff just takes up too much room, and this is my work computer / bedroom, so yeah. Ended up being lots of trips to the office that was going to be the original streaming room, but instead has been, listen, this computer is the one that can run my stream right now. I'm still hoping that Mac OS, whatever the next one is, the one that is just coming out now in beta, cleans up a lot of the performance issues on the M1 chips, because everybody can lie to themselves and say that they're an amazing feat of engineering, and they are, I'm sure, in so many ways that I don't fully understand, but promised performance does not lived up to, or does not match lived expectation. To the point where, like, people were like, yeah, you can totally stream with an M1. I'm doing it right now. And I was like, okay, cool, let me try. And nothing works the way that it says it's going to. And then a busted main board and a busted IO board in 2 separate ones, and many trips back and forth to the quote-unquote genius bar left me sour on Apple for a bit here. So it's sitting in the penalty box. I also wanted to do some renovations to that office before I fully move the stream in there, just so that it is ready for what I want to do in there. But we haven't quite gotten there yet. So
My name is Red. Said I know Jack about that stuff.
totally fair, man. Totally fair. Talked about it a little bit on the stream last night. I have worked in IT field, not necessarily as a technical specialist, but in other capacities in that field, and I have some trusted experts that I really rely on. And let's put it this way, they are more positive on Apple than I am. They remain more optimistic on the trajectory of the M1 than I am right now. So we're back on the Windows PC. We're back using my decade-old graphics card that is barely handling it as is. And it's still working better than the M1 Mac that is supposedly much, much nicer than it is. So take that with whatever grain of whatever legume you choose. Legume or mineral, I guess. Let's continue working. So I just flipped this guy over. Right now we're working on base coats. The real key to making something look super shiny is very, very controlled spread on the highlights. It is incredibly difficult to pull off on. I find it's much easier to pull off in non-metallic metal than it is to make shiny organic surfaces. Just me here, because part of it is our mind is primed to see metal in non-organic surfaces. It is less primed to see that sort of thing in organic surfaces. So it just happens that it is, I feel, slightly more difficult to render that stuff out and have it be convincing to all comers. Yes, there are plenty of other ways that we could do this. We don't have to do it with non-metallic, like purely non-metallic techniques. But rendering shiny surfaces on organic objects, always a little bit more difficult, always requires a little bit of extra care on how you shape light and all the rest of it. So I felt like it was a worthwhile goal for this particular model to really give it the old try. This is the difference between, like, and when I say like shiny organic surfaces, think of how many Space Marine faces you've seen during your time in the hobby, everybody watching this video now and in the future. Now think of how many of those faces you've seen and thought, that guy looks sweaty. Our battle-hardened, screaming veteran who is yelling his face off, our commissar who is under fire. Think of how many of those guys you've looked at and thought, that guy is sweaty.
My name is Red. Said none.
Precisely. Because it's actually pretty hard to do. Like, it is making shiny organic surfaces is hard at this scale. because you need to really, really control how light looks on them. And sweaty faces, for example, have really, really distinct patterns. You get flush red cheeks and all the rest of it. And if you don't pull it off, it just looks like somebody is wearing makeup. Like, it looks like they are overexposed and wearing makeup. Like, if you were looking at a photo of somebody who's overexposed and, like, somebody's turned the saturation filter up to 1,000. That's what it looks like. It looks like Samsung photos. Samsung Galaxy, not necessarily now, but, like, Samsung S8, S9, S10 photos look like that. They would just overblow skin tones, but way too much saturation in places it didn't belong.
Said Coco the Clown LOL.
Yep. Clown makeup. You are absolutely right, Mr. Ed. So it's one of those things that it is.
Ticolito. Said, and then there's me too scared to paint faces and just throwing helmets on top of all my models LUL.
Not. You know what? There is nothing wrong with helmets, because helmets also convey a certain thing in any model, right? Like, throwing a helmet on a dude is an artistic decision that you can make every time. And I don't think anybody's going to be like, well, why is that guy wearing a helmet? I mean, somebody at GW thought that when they were talking about Stormcast Eternals. They were like, man, these Stormcasts would be way better if you could see their faces. And everyone was like, I thought they were just like soulless automata of like, what's his name? GW was like, retconned, they are real people under there now. And we're all like, oh, okay, cool that you didn't even manage to get through first edition.
Said, yeah, I thought they were gold golems.
Yeah, and that was the original lore for the Stormcast Eternal, is that they were literally like creations of oh man, I'm forgetting his name right now. I want to say Yazier, and that's not it. That's Stormlight Archive. But they were originally just like faceless automata that like went out and did the greater good.
Said, we don't talk about first edition. That never happened.
Listen, first edition made it so that like
You mean Sigmar?
Sigmar, thank you. Good God, thank you, man. Jeebus. Yeah, like Sigmar's Chosen, like they were supposed to be just greater good robots, and then we decided instead we were like, no, they will have real backstory, and I was like, disappointed, guys. We need them to have faces so that we know that they're good guys. Okay, well, that's fair.
My name is Red. Said LOL.
How did I forget Sigmar? The game is literally named after him. Currently? This is something that I also thought when they announced that the title shift when the old world died was going to be Age of Sigmar. I was like, what happens if it's no longer the Age of Sigmar? Like what happens at the world end for this one, right?
Said it's okay. Games Workshop forgot about him too LUL.
Oh, right, the announcement is happening this morning. I'm missing them talking about 40k orcs, and that makes me slightly sad, but I also don't care that much. If anything cool comes up, just post it in chat and I'll go take a look, but like, we already know what it is. Today they're announcing the new edition of all of the orcs that we've been seeing for the last like 3 months.
Said, but they are not live yet.
Oh, I know. We got time.
Ticolito. Said kill team.
Yeah, Kill Team 2 is coming out. Well, Kill Team like 4 is coming out today, but like Kill Team Revival 2 is coming out today, which I'm excited for. That cinematic trailer and Plastic DKOK got both Adam and I there is just a flurry of messages between us yesterday being like, are they gonna remake the Guard? Are we getting new Guard? Cause like, you know, we've got like remakes of Sly Marbo and new Cadians, and that's basically it the last 5 years, but it's nice to see that we're actually getting DKOK and Plastics. This sort of plays into the rumor that everybody's been circulating.
How small army that I am hoping to use for kill team, because Lord knows I cannot use them in 9th edition LUL.
Oh yeah. I feel bad for you because like I keep looking at Tau as like, I love these models, I really want to paint them. I like one of the first sets of like 40k like the first set of 40k like models that I actually picked up was Tau stealth suits that I painted. wasn't that long ago, maybe 6-7 years ago.
Said we got heads and weapons, which is bull.
Well, we did get heads and weapons and Gaunt's ghosts. Like that's what the guard got so far, but I'm really hoping that it is, hey, here's some new tanks, like here's the repulsor technology coming out of Astartes down to the guard.
And I love your aesthetic, but damn, life is tough as a Tau player.
Oh yeah, Ninth Ed is just the worst to Tau. Here's an entire army based off of throwing up as many. Oh boy, yeah, the Tau army is just insanity. The banded accuracy.
Said imagine them just not releasing the models in plastic and just expecting us to buy the Forge World models.
Are you talking about for? Oh, yeah. No, I think that the rumor about Forge World being shut down is going to be more than a rumor. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm certain by the end of 2021. I can only imagine internally that they have discussed a number of times how bad Forge World is for their business. Having a bunch of really small run models that is incredibly expensive to produce because they're only produced in one factory in the UK and they have to ship them worldwide, and the shipping is insanity, and now they've gone to local currency so they can screw Australia. Like, all of those things have combined to make it so that Forge World is just a bad business case now so that they can get rid of it. And I think that the release of Plastic DKOK is going to be our like transition out. Like, this is going to be we're going to see Night Titans and stuff like that. Like, we're going to see all of our Titans move over. We'll see our Biophage move over. Oh, thanks for the follow, man. Yeah, I think that we'll see all that stuff move out of Forge World and we'll see the end of the Forge World, at least as it is right now. They might do something else with Forge World. I'm thinking more along the lines of accessory product and like water slide decals and like obscure books and stuff like that. But I don't think that we'll see Forge World have its own entire line. I think we'll see the end of Forge World when they do 30K2. Like, 30K second edition is going to hit sometime this year. We've seen box photos and spies and leaks and all the rest of it. The second that happens, they're just going to shut down Forge World. It will be another tab on, like, it'll just be like Age of Sigmar, 40K, 30K box games kind of a deal. Yeah. Let's continue to work on our model here. Sorry, I wanted to give everything a minute to set here just because I've been working pretty much straight through. Back into our Black Forest Green, and we're going to start rendering out some of our highlights. Now, to do this, and by some of our highlights, I'm going to pull this guy off the model and...
Said, yeah, I see them doing Forge World like more games exclusive produces alternative bodies for the spare heads in your armies or stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be more along the lines of we'll see Forge World as a product variety. So, like you said, like alternate sculpts, that sort of thing. I think that we'll see it most. You know how they did in like mid 8th to the end of 8th? They did all of the 40K Marines got their own. Well, not all of them, but our first foundings plus Blank Templar got their own like. Hey, this is our box of goodies. Like, we got, you know, custom sculpt stuff. We got shoulder pads and accessories and belt buckles and whatnot, right? Like, they all got that stuff. And they got their own books. Like, they all got their own codicy and whatnot. I think that that's more along the lines of what we'll see from Forge World. So it'll be that sort of accessory kit will become a Forge World kit. And they'll start doing it for hopefully more armies than just the Space Marines, you know, like... I would love to see. They're gonna be talking about orcs today on the live stream. I would love to see like. God, that looks good. Man, I'm a genius. Anyway, I would love to see them do the same thing for like orcs. Like, let's get a Blood Axe one, or let's get like, you know, for Tau. Like, let's see individual Tau sets come out with that stuff. And it's something that they can produce basically once and leave it to go for a long while. Like, it's one of those things that they can say, let's you know, like how long did the old Blood Angels or heck, any of the old before Primaris, we had basically gone with those upgrade sprues. Like the Space Wolves upgrade sprue was like 3rd edition, maybe really early 4th, all the way through to the end of 8th, middle of 8th. Like it was out for like 20 years, and they can do the same thing. I mean, like, if they really wanted to, and I'm not saying that they will, but if they really wanted to update Eldar, let's say, and by let's say I mean if they wanted to do an update to Eldar, okay, cool. You make your Eldar troop, like let's redo all the troopers for Eldar, and let's do the same thing that we do with Space Marines. Let's make one troop, and then you can go and buy the upgrade Marine for Screaming Banshee or Stinging Scorpion. Like you can go buy the upgrade sprue, and those upgrade sprues become Forge World stuff. Just what I think we're gonna end up seeing, or what I would like to see Forge World transition into, because I'm certain that GW is looking at it being like, we can't support this anymore. Like the hobby has moved beyond this. We need to move beyond it as well. So,
Tico Lito said, you know how they made the Death Watch Kill Team box set specifically for Kill Team? It baffles me that they do not have one offering like that for each army. I hope they do something like that, which would enable them to upgrade old kits and sculptures. Choicest but said Tico Lito - please refrain sending long messages.
oh, Choicebot, I tried to murder you last night, and here you are again this morning, just being the worst. Or if you are Choicebot talking about itself, Choicebit. But don't worry about the long message thing, Tico Lito. That's whatever. That is what it is. Just it likes to yell about things. Pay no attention to it. But yeah, I really liked. I'm excited for Kill Team 2 just because of how good of a deal Kill Team 1 was. I bought the starter box for Kill Team 1 just because of the terrain. Like, yes, it was like I have a Gene Stealer Kill Team still because of GSC in that box. Like, there's no other reason. That's not true. I like the lore of Gene Stealers, but and also I really love the Adeline Jackals and the Achilles Ridge Runner.
Tico Lito said, you got lucky. That thing is impossible to find now.
Oh yeah, we were on it from like pre-order day. Like I put my order in with Friendly Local Gaming Store literally the second it went up for pre-order. And I did contemplate picking up some of the like other. There were other Kill Team specific boxes that came out terrain on the like next issue before we got to Commanders and Elites that were also great. And there was in Elites, there was one really good one in Elites, and I'm blanking on what it was. I think it was the Scarab Occult with terrain. The Thousand Suns, like if you're into Thousand Suns, I guess, the Thousand Suns with terrain one was a really good deal as well. Ooh, also the Orc War Shop because, Mech Shop, because that Orc Mech Shop was just the terrain that was in it was over $100, and I think you could pick it up, well, $100 Canadian, whatever your local currency was. At any rate, all of those early sets were really good deals. Like they were exceptional hobby deals for both terrain and the models that were in them. They backed off on that by the time that there was a few that were good deals by the time we got to Elite. I don't know. It's the same thing that Games Workshop always does. You launch battle boxes with old sculpts and battle boxes that are an incredible deal, and then never deal with them again. You know, like I was gonna get the 8th edition starter box. I didn't because honestly I didn't have money at the time. It's basically what it came down to. I didn't have money at the time. Didn't get it. Wanted a Malignant Plague Caster forever. And 9th edition, I finally got that sculpt. Like, you know, whatever, 5 years later, the sculpt is finally available as a single. Okay, GW, that's cool, but like, would have been nice to have that sooner. Not have to buy it out of bits boxes. So right now I'm just working Dark Forest Green all over the model. I'm excited to see what the Beast Class Snegas actually are as far as rules go. Or Beast Snegas, I guess. I keep calling them Beast Class Snegas because I think that they have a different name, or had a different name when they originally announced that dude who is both 40k and Age of Sigmar.
Tico Lito said Games Workshop really is like an abusive significant other, making us crave even the slightest bit of attention to our favorite models. LUL.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they are the biggest game in town, also the best at what they do. Like, there is some argument to be made that the sculptors over at Corvus Belly are equal in every way to the Games Workshop dudes, and that's fine, but their game is worse. Like, I like the world of Infinity. It is a very compelling world to me. That sci-fi is great. I like Estrella, their Blood Bowl equivalent.
Said yeah, we all bully them all the time, but secretly we all know they are the absolute best.
Oh yeah, there is. You know, I hate to like make this comparison. As much as they are an abusive relationship to us, we are not, you know, princes to them either. Like, the community is not fair to GW. They are a business. They have shareholders. They like shareholder value. But also, yeah. I mean, nobody in this is coming away not being somewhat toxic, which is fine. We're allowed to be passionate about the things that bring us joy in life. I don't think anybody needs to stop being passionate about the things that bring them joy, but like, we also shouldn't expect miracles from GW. They're not a charity. They are a billion-dollar business. I mean, I would love it if...
Said how dare them not throw their business concerns out the window in order to specifically produce the models I want.
You know what, though? They are, in a lot of ways. Like, how long have we been complaining about DKOK being either sold out in Forge World or unavailable through whatever means, right? Like, Adam and I have been complaining because Adam loves the Deathcore Creek. Adam's my normal co-host, Tigolito. He's just... I have a week off this week, so I decided to stream every day. Adam's normally on here with me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Adam has been, as long as I've known him, Adam is like, I just want to play DK, okay? I don't want to buy resculpts. I don't want to have to pay eBay price. I don't want to, like... Forge World requires a $200 free shipping solution, and even then it's 21 days to Canada. Like, no. I just want to play DKOK. And they did it. Like, yeah, it's taken a couple of years, but, like, they did it. You know, we complained forever that, like, the old Orc Boys sculpts look like garbage, so they're recasting the Orc Boys. Like, they put out the survey last year, and we're like, which of our models do you hate the most? And we were all like, boys. And they were like, new boys. And we were like, Necrons look kind of bad. And they were like, cool, we're going to redo the entire Necron army, short of Immortals. Anything else? And we were like, I would like new Elder. And they were like, no one likes the Elder. Shut up. But there's no doubt in my mind that, like, every time we've been, you know, every time they've had the opportunity, they really have tried to address things. I mean, I hold out no hope. My Elysian Drop Troopers never gonna happen, but they also haven't gone after the guys who are making their own Elysian Drop Troopers and just calling them straight up Elysian Drop Troopers. Like, Matara Tank, like, just advertises his, like, tanks, all of the Drop Trooper, or all of the Elysian tanks, he just straight up calls them Elysian Drop Trooper tanks, and GW said nothing, so...
But yes, I get what you mean. They definitely do care.
I mean, they also want to steal all of our money and, you know, create more shareholder value. So, like, we can all take it with a grain of salt, but, like, they are at least, like, listening to the community. Sometimes. And then other times they're just utter, contemptible crap. I don't know. We all go back and forth on GW. The one company I've actually been really impressed with over the last little while has actually been Atomic Mass Games, and I know that they are well funded. They're a part of Asmodee, all the rest of it, but like the sculpts that they are coming up with for both, well, formerly of Fantasy Flight, the ones that are coming out for Star Wars Legion, as well as for Marvel Crisis Protocol, are probably the biggest rival I see right now to... I haven't paid much attention to A Song of Ice and Fire, but specifically Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol. They're doing all the things that you really need to do for IP sculptors, which is, you know, recognizable silhouettes, just well-made sculpts. I like the Legion plastic.
Tico Lito said, I just branched out and tried an Osprey Games game, Gaslands, and though I absolutely love it, I now have a greater appreciation for how intricate and developed Warhammer is as a game.
Yeah.
Said Tico Lito - please refrain sending long messages.
Ugh. ChoiceBot is off, so I have no idea how it is still moderating the stream. Not sure. Are you on Twitch or on YouTube, Ticolito? You're on Twitch. Never mind. Give me 1 second. All I'm doing right now is this is just...
Said Twitch.
Yeah. Sorry, I multicast, so I stream to both because I do. Give me like 2 seconds here. I'm going to go into my Twitch settings and see what's going on because I'll just kick him out as a moderator. For now, Choiciest Bot will come back at some point. I use him when I'm alone on stream because otherwise I definitely miss messages in chat because, you know, staring at model, not at monitor. Beep. So he yells in my ears constantly, which is nice of him, but also let's pull you offline for just a second. Choicebot offline. Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. Yesterday, the stream started trolling me because they found out that I couldn't turn off ChoiceBot while I was live, so they just started spamming emotes at me, which was just fun. Was a thing. That is definitely a choice. I'm not going to take that away from anybody. If you want ChoiceBot to just yell at me all stream long about your emotes, go for it.
Tico Lito said that sounds like Twitch LUL.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like Twitch, right? I mean, it's no worse than any other community. And I am absolutely guilty of this. Like, the streamers that I follow closely, I definitely do the same thing to them when their bots act up, so... Like... Can't say I don't deserve this. This feels like karma. And again, right now, I'm just setting up these membranes with a little bit more shadow. So we did that oil wash originally. It is now in there. I'm using that oil wash in combination with our dark forest green here. And just starting to pull these membranes out from their background. Just a little bit of dark forest green is helping to pull them away. I am going to highlight them pretty aggressively with our fall green here in a minute. But for right now, we're just covering them over nicely and gently with our dark forest green. And yeah, it's spilling a little bit over into the sides, but again, this is why we put down our oil wash earlier, so that we have a little bit of a blend down into the model itself. Now, all of this stuff, we're going to be coming back. So even though I'm putting down this dark forest green right now, thanks, man. Even though we're doing the dark forest green right now, the next step in this is that I'm actually going to start putting on sort of our magic symbol / star field that is going to unite this with our magical glaive, our twilight glaive. So all this stuff kind of reaches in together and creates one cohesive thing across the model. So on this part of the model, on the wings, it's going to be like Starfield basically. So we're going to put some tiny white dots on things and some little slightly larger white dots on things. But that's going to overlap this part of the painting process, so I just wanted to get this stuff sort of done. And then we will come back, and that's where we'll pick out and highlight the stuff with the fall green, just sort of giving us a whole picture of these spines and really refining their shape at that point in time. And we'll finish up the highlights on the actual wings here and on the beetle itself. The beetle might, like the carapace on the beetle is probably going to wait until we are fully assembled, so we will get there though. How goes assembly, Mr. Ed? Are you still in chat? I mean, I don't want to call you out or anything, I just want an update, man. And Tigolito, are you working on anything this morning or this afternoon, this evening? I'm not sure where you're at, so could be any time of the day and or night where you are. Mr. Ed normally joins us at like 2 in the morning his time. I always feel bad because I'm like, dude, have you not tried sleep? It is glorious.
Said later I am working in some town.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, this is me trying to finish up my like week off project.
I am in Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Here.
Fair enough. It is 11 here, so I'm in Mountain Time. I'm in Canada. I'm one of like the 7 people in North America that lives in this time zone. Well, there's like a million of us, but when they named the time zone after like geological feature and all of our clocks are based off of Denver, you know that you're not. You know, Central Time versus Denver Mountain Time feels less important than like GMT or, you know, however many other dozens of time zones that are named after way cooler things than like, yeah, there's some mountains nearby. They're pretty big. Probably the biggest feature that you got going on.
Said I have to be in the right mindset though, because, well, it is white paint, so I need to mentally prepare to deal with the thick and chunky paint LUL. Choiceiest but said Tico Lido dash please refrain sending long messages.
Oh, choice bot.
Said yeah, time zones are strange.
I have been finding better success, and take this with a grain of salt. I have been finding better success recently. I recently swapped out all of the white paints I've been using. So I use a combination of 2 things. Liquitex. Man. So I use Liquitex white ink combined with, where is my whites? It depends on the application. If I'm doing large flat applications, it's Liquitex inks mixed with golden acrylic. You can see it is fairly translucent, but the white ink, like the Liquitex white, or sorry, it's not Liquitex, it's FW Della Brownie. Combining these 2 together, inks flow really well, and they're very highly pigmented, but it's hard to get coverage on them, and they tend to be fairly fragile. This stuff is armor, like it is titanium, like it's titanium in pigment medium, like in a gel medium. Combining the 2 of them together is by far the most success I've had with white paint over the last little while. It doesn't get all chunky, just because the pigment in the ink is so fine, and it tends to go fairly decent. Like, I've had some good success so far. I'm not going to claim it's like a cure-all or panacea for white armor, but so far so good. Hang on, I got some white armor that I've done with it. This is one of our kill team members, or not kill team. This is one of Project Never Fallen. This is our Belisarius call, but you guys, you can see, I mean, I'm doing very cool blues on, or very cool whites on his armor down there.
Said yeah, I have heard many alternatives, but I got gifted a box of Army Painter paints.
Fair enough.
Tico Lido. Said which are not great, but I am trying to keep my expenses in the hobby as low as possible.
Hey, totally fair.
Said that white looks really nice though.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's definitely you know, put in what you can afford kind of a deal. Don't worry about like getting super expensive, but the next time you want to get into, you know, if you're doing that shopping trip next, and that's where you want to get your army to with white paint, that is definitely the way I've had the most success. So
Said I will write it down.
yeah, man. I think that I kind of came to that around the same time. I think I want to say Vince Venturella, but it could have been anybody. Was doing another series on white armor, and I was like, I should go out and figure out how I want to do white armor for serious, because I knew that I wanted to do our Fabius Bile, and I wanted to do him as an apothecary, so...
Tico Lito said I will definitely buy that next, alongside the black ink panel liner.
Yeah, black ink panel liner is godsend. If that is... If you are doing white armor, I cannot stress enough how much oil washes are an important part of white armor. Being able to remove stuff off of white armor with relative ease is so incredibly key. It is such a game changer being able to add and remove paint, and that is what oils do for you. I also I tried a bunch of other stuff too. Like I've done reverse oil washes where I am using I have titanium white oil paint here that I've used and tried to use it as a reverse of an oil wash. So trying to wash it out of the lowlights and use it as a highlight color. It works to a certain degree. It works better on matte colors for sure, but it is still a technique that I'd have to play around with a bunch more before I'd feel confident like putting it on something that I am either making a showcase, like a showpiece out of, or even really talking too much about it on Twitch. I don't know. I can debut techniques in front of you guys all day. The fact that I have done a paint job similar to this 5 years ago, using very different techniques. This is much easier than the last time I tried to do this because I was using entirely brushes at that point in time. So, and even though I am using brushes for a lot of stuff right now, like the blend was all done with an airbrush, all the oil, like applying the oil wash was done with an airbrush, all that stuff was... Not saying you have to have an airbrush to do it. I did it without an airbrush on the glaive. It just takes longer, right? Like, it takes longer. The result is okay, but it's not obviously as smooth because I don't want to be painting this model for the next 18 days. I want to be done basically today, tomorrow. So one of those things that you just have to go with is where can I spend money? Or where can I spend time?
Said thank you for the tips. I will certainly keep all of them in mind. I'm relatively new to the hobby. I literally heard about Warhammer just the last October for the first time, so I appreciate all input.
Hey, no problem, man.
Said Tico Lito - please refrain sending long messages.
Okay, we're gonna go and figure out where ChoiceBot lives and remove all of his access to everything. Because he is supposed to be off everywhere. Alright. He is now removed from Twitch. He can't even be on Twitch anymore. I've deleted ChoiceBot's account from Twitch. That was my last step to see if I could get him out of chat.
Tico Lito said I gotta go, but I enjoyed very much your stream.
Oh, thanks, man. Have a good day, man. I know it's just afternoon. I got a little bit more time here before we're gonna sign off too. But
Tico Lito said I will be hoping on your streams whenever you are live.
thanks, man. We will see you on the next one, hopefully, or whenever you can make it back. All right. Where are we at with this?
Tico Lito said good luck with the paint job.
Oh, thanks, man. I like paint yob. I am now going to call them all paint yobs. I know that's not on you. That is on SpeechBot. Just fun. I want to do more paint jobs. I am going to take a break here. I'm going to go take a smoke break, and then we will be back. What we're going to do next is we're going to start working in the starfield on the actual, on the wings, and we'll replicate that on the glaive. In the meantime, I'm going to put up our slideshow. If you would like to be a part of the slideshow, you guys can always DM me on Instagram. I am Choice Minis on Instagram. You can always hit me up on Twitch or Twitter or wherever else you want to DM me. Or you can send stuff directly to our email, choiceminis@gmail.com. If you want to be a part of the slideshow, we'd love to give you the attribution, and we'd love to see what you guys are doing out there in the community. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes or so here. Take a little break. It is well above 25 degrees Celsius here, so I'm going to go take a break, have a smoke, and I will be back in a few minutes. So we'll see you guys soon. Like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, hit the stupid bell. We'll be back. everybody, we're back. It's me, Choice Mini, Steve Thomas. We are back with our Arch-Revenant. Arch-Revenant. Arch-Revenant? We're just about there. We're getting exceptionally close, ladies and gentlemen. We got a little bit more work to do with our beetle friend, with our winglings. We got a base. We got a base. Oh, that is too close for it to actually focus on. There we go. We got a base. We got an Arch-Revenant. We got good times. So, let's talk about how we're going to do this Starry Night effect. That is something we should talk about. That is something we should talk about. Sorry, I'm just getting ready here. So. Getting the airbrush out. Yield the airbrush. I'm going to show you this technique, hopefully in some pretty decent detail. This is a paint sample. Look at it. Glorious, right? Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to take our Teneri Yellow. Scale color Teneri Yellow. I'm going to put some of this into our airbrush cup. We're going to take some Dalerani white ink. This is, we were just talking about this before with Ticalito. We are going to mix the hell out of this because the pigment does settle pretty good on it, and it's been a couple days since I've used it, so just give me a second while I mix. While we do the mix, what we're essentially going to do is we're going to use the airbrush to create a spatter pattern. This is normally the opposite of what you want to do with the paint, with an airbrush. You want to get the airbrush dialed in so that it is providing nice, tiny little micro bubbles. We are going to go in a different direction. So what I'm going to do is I want some really pale yellow stars here. So we're just going to mix until I've got a color that I like in the airbrush. Ooh, we are close. That is close. That is close, folks. But I also want this to be somewhat translucent so I can do it in a couple of layers. And then what I will do afterwards is I will come back with a combination of white and Teneri Yellow and sort of brighten some of these up. So yes, I am putting this on pretty translucently, but we will come back afterward. Let's see where we're at. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. So, this is my normal airbrush settings. As I said earlier, it's set at about 25, 26 PSI. So when I shoot regularly, you guys can see what shows up there, right? Other than the inside of the airbrush is dirty and I need to mix this paint better. Hang on. Just gonna backflow the airbrush a little bit to get that mix inside of the cup. There we go. So when I'm really gentle with air pressure, like when we're modulating it way down, you can see that it does speckle. But if I turn down the pressure a lot, and I'm going to turn it like way the heck down. Ooh, we're going to turn it down even further. So, when I turn it way the heck down, and I do the same thing, and I open the cup up, you guys can see, as I turn it down, I'm now getting bigger and bigger speckles. So we are running very low PSI. like under 10. And you guys can see what's coming out now. We're getting nice speckly nature. There are big drops of paint coming out. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for big old fat drops of paint. Big speckles, right? And this is how I have learned to do this sort of galaxy effect. And we're gonna just take the model. I'm gonna be angling everything. Again, I'm just making sure that I'm still getting that effect out of the brush. Now, this is also easier to accomplish in other ways. If I had mixed the paint to be thicker in the airbrush, I'm gonna get, again, bigger speckles, but I don't really want bigger speckles right now. What I'm looking for is fine little dusty ones. And if I want bigger speckles, or again, we're looking for nice subtle speckles. What I'm going to be doing second here so we'll be coming back in a second here with the brush, and we'll be making bigger ones. Gonna do the same thing here with, I'm putting these into the dark area. I am trying to avoid shooting the rest of the model with this stuff, but we're putting these into the glaive like this. We're putting them into the wings up there. And then what I'm gonna do next. Great. I might just do one more spritz on the back here. There we go. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna void out my airbrush, get it cleaned up. But what we're gonna do next is we're going to give that more of a pattern on the actual, so there's two things that we're gonna do. I'm gonna glaze in some purple over top of that so that we've got the idea that it is set into the background, right? So I'm gonna mix up our sunset purple here real quick. Sunset purple and a little bit of black ink. We're gonna mix that together, get that going. Sorry, I'm just gonna run the airbrush here for a second to void out the actual brush itself, because I am gonna have to do some more airbrush work before we're all done today, so I just want to make sure that I can come back to it and it's relatively clean. All right. So first things first, we're gonna use the purple again, or we're gonna come back with our purple, our sunset purple, and a little bit of black and liquids and smoke, smoky ink. All of them from, I've talked about them in the past videos, but at any rate, I'm gonna get that really thin down, so I'm gonna add some extra AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish onto the palette here. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of our purple. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to set these into a background color. So, hope that you guys can see that going on. It looks like you should be able to. Yeah, you can. Nope, now we can. All right, so up here, this is just AK Interactive Sunset Purple here. And then I'm just gonna take a little bit of the combination of smoky ink and black ink. I might actually need more of this. Oh my goodness, it dried out. Oh no, there we go. We got a little bit. This is a very, very translucent color right now. And I'm just gonna drip this, like use this to over top of all of this stuff to sort of fade these a little bit into the background. And it's not because they're too strong or anything like that. It's literally just I want to see series of stars and have them be on different planes. It's gonna help the overall effect that we're going for here. So we're just gonna pull some of this onto the model. And again, this is gonna help because we've already got that green on there, because we've already got that black ink on there, all the rest of that. all that stuff is going to help right now to sort of blend the shadows, but also blend the stuff into our sunset pattern that's on there, right? And this is also why we haven't entirely finished the green portions of it yet. Could I have done this before I did the green portions? Sort of. But I wanted to make sure that I was going in a direction that I liked with the green before I made that choice. I haven't really... There are parts of this paint job I have done... Elements of this paint job have come from all over the place, but this in particular is one I wanted to try all together. So, again, we might need to do another glaze of this. I'm going to let it dry out a little bit, and we'll see where we're at before we come in. And we're going to broaden some of these stars, give more galactic features to these areas, and then we're going to come back on the green. And with this texture on the green, that's fine. Like I'm not worried about it. The ink or the effect is so thin, it's not going to like add extra texture or anything. So we're cool. We're good. We're good. We're good. Don't panic, or do. I'm not your boss. I'm not your supervisor. I am, however, gonna cheat just slightly on this one. This isn't a paint we've used on the model before, but I am gonna pull in a little bit of African Shadow. It is a purpley brown. It is great for African shadows, but also it is a phenomenal purpley brown. So we're gonna use it for both of those properties. Not really, we're mostly gonna use it for the purpley brown properties. There we go. Okay. I was gonna say, why am I just getting medium and not pigment? There it goes. So it is significantly darker than our sunset. So I am gonna mix a little bit of the sunset ink into this as well, or sunset purple color into it, and I am gonna pull just a tiny amount of black, our black green, into it. Yes, that looks like a mess, but I promise you, this is where we kind of want to be. A little bit more purple in there. There we go. And again, very thin. Just going to sweep that up towards the top of our sunset now, or into the top of our starry night sort of situation going on here. Just reinforcing that we have multiple planes to this. There are some that are going to be brighter than others. I'm gonna make sure I'm getting it into the corners. That we really are selling this starry night effect, this twilight effect that we're going for across the wings and on the glaive. I'll probably be doing this with my synthetic brush instead of my nice brush, but this is... You know, I buy them to use them, right? If I'm just going to use these brushes only when it's fine detail work. What's the point in owning nice brushes if you don't get to use them on things that are inappropriate for their use? So again, just on the inside of the wings, we're going to be doing the same thing here. And then what we're going to be doing once I'm happy that we've got this stuff properly situated in the model, that it is looking nice. Probably one more coat here just on the back. I'm going to do it just towards the tops of these wings, because I want to make sure that they are still well shadowed. I'm going to bring just a tiny bit more black into this. Just a tiny bit more black into this. Feeling like Bob Ross. All right, we're just going to bring this stuff up into these wings, make sure that these shadows are really pulling through here. Up into the tops here. Cool. Okay, let's let this dry for a minute. Let's get our wings back to being winglings. Again, we're into our combination of black and dark forest. Let's get our wings back. Or not our wings, our carapace. So reducing the noise on the carapace here is going to be key for separating it out and making it look nice and flat, nice and shiny. So it's going to take us a second, probably a couple coats here to really bring that back to where we want it to be. But and yes, again, I could have probably done this step. I've probably done these steps out of order. So if you are doing this, you want to recreate this, cool. Do the order that we finish off the other parts of the wings first, and then we can come back in and take care of these. But I wanted to make sure compositionally that I like the green and the sunset together before I made the commitment. So yeah, it's going to take me an extra hour or so to get this all done, but such is life. Continuing, just again, this is scale color black, scale color combined with scale color dark forest green to get these carapace bits on our armor, or sorry, the carapace bits on the wings, the carapace on the beetle itself. Just coming back to this color, giving it nice base coat again, getting it back to where we want it to be, taking some of that extra noise off of this part of the model. I want the noise in the wing bits. I do not want the noise on the membranes of the wings. I do not want the noise in this part of the model. So, and by noise I mean like visual noise. So the little dots and whatnot that are creating our starry field effect, those are going to be separated from the carapace bits. And again, this is probably work I could be doing with a synthetic brush, but this is more fun. I like using my nice brushes. Also, it allows me to do this, where I transition from big, broad, sweepy strokes to, like, let's do tiny little details without having to swap out brushes. Because I'm using a Windsor number 2 right now. This is my, this is my workload brush. Like, this is the one that I put the most work in with. Generally for base coats and stuff, I'm using some sort of synthetic brush, and I'm normally using like a size 3 to size 6, somewhere in there. Just when I can get away with it, having a brush that covers quickly and holds lots of paint and water is important, because I live in essentially a desert. It is just after 11:30 a.m. here, and we are at 29 degrees Celsius now. So thanks, global warming. Feels bad to say, feels bad to think. So instead, let's put paint on a model. And again, we're just doing the same thing for the carapace on the inside of the wings that we did on the outside, because that's important. I'm excited because on Tuesday, when we come back, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, we are back with Project Never Fallen again. I'm stoked. I'm glad we have taken a couple weeks off of that project and been in other places and gotten to do other things. I was super happy to get to paint some ogre skin. And if you guys have other projects that you would like to see me tackle, or if you want a commission, you can always get in contact with me through DMs. I'm open right now. I've got time as soon as I finish this crane set that I'm working on for my brother. But if you got other techniques and stuff you'd like to see me do, I'm always happy to just do some of the technical ones and do technical demonstrations of particular technique, or if if there is a model you would like to see me tackle. Again, Project Never Fallen, the big idea behind that was, I was like, what if Adam and I were like, what if all 20 chapters, 20 original Astartes legions, What if all of them had just remained loyal? There was no Horus Heresy. We didn't. All that stuff didn't happen. We just had loyalist Marines. Everybody's still loyalist Marines. Nice, tasty loyalists. How would their armor look? In the 40k universe, because lots of things changed. Almost every chapter changed the color of their armor, except for, I don't know, probably Imperial Fist. Seems like Imperial Fist 30k was yellow. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, like, just what would change about their armor? How are the tactics changed? If there's no heresy, if, Perturabo isn't gone, does Imperial Fist continue to build just siege equipment constantly? Is that still their attitude? Right now we're working on a loyalist Emperor's Child, which is super fun because we are getting to reimagine as if Fulgrim had gotten to like keep his vision going, like the idea of the perfect Space Marine chapter, right? And what does perfection mean when it's not twisted to Chaos's purpose? That's sort of where we're working through right now. And we get to use one of the most iconic models and one of the most, like, weird lore people. I'm using Fabius Bile and doing what he should be, which is an apothecary. So, like, he is a Primaris apothecary. That we are reusing bits of apothecary. We are reusing bits of the Fabius Bile model. I've got a Space Marine who's going to be in a tank of goo because tanks of goo are cool. Yeah, I'm excited because I like the project. I like the scope of the project. I like that it's got lots of modeling and modding potential that we're working through. As I was mentioning earlier, we've definitely... Sorry, I'm just sort of filling time as I'm painting this black-green back onto things. Yeah, we got to reimagine one of my favorite models in the 30k line right now is actually the Deathwing Companion, or Deathwing Companions. There's 5 basically Praetorians for the Dark Angels that are in a box that is a 30k model, and we were like, what if the Deathwing Companions actually existed in 40k? There's a full series of it on our YouTube channel, just choice minis on YouTube, and then you can see the entire thing kind of come together on there. It was a really interesting project. It was fun as our sort of like first foray into the what if 40k universe. There we go. We are back to having some nice green carapace bits for our wings, for our winglings. So the next step of this, as I was mentioning before, is I want to go through and add more definitive stars, right? We want nice bright stars somewhere, like bigger, more in line with, I guess, the like idea of stars as opposed to just sort of looking like sparkle, like white noise. Let's come to our... Sorry, I forgot to do the glaive when we were talking before, so let's just shade in on the glaive here. Make sure that the glaive is nice, that it is well captured, and that we are keeping the spirit of what we're doing here on both of these bits, so that they look... Each of them looks magical. Oh god, I love that on the glaive. So the glaive, obviously the markers that we're going to do here, the little bit of freehand that we're going to do is going to be a little bit smaller on the glaive, but it will exist on both. So let's get this set up. So I've got on the palette here, I'm going to throw down some fresh Teneri yellow. Just, there is some on the palette, but the palette, even though it is a wet palette, even though it is the infallible, like, god tier, tool to never have to keep your paints wet, it's not. It's just not. I live in a... I've mentioned this before. I live in a dank desert. Even though there is plenty of moisture left on the wet palette, or left in the wet palette, and I refilled this thing yesterday. We are already back to having no standing water in the wet palette. There's nothing I can do about it. This is going to be life from now on. Oh boy. Okay, so we've got the Teneri yellow there. I'm going to take and make a little puddle here of some white ink, just in one of our wells here. I'll add some white ink from that well into our Teneri yellow. I'm going to mix it with the synthetic brush because I don't really want to muck about with the tip on that one. That is way too big. Let's go with this boy. I mean, I do also have like non-synthetic, like I've got old Winsor & Newton brushes around. So let's get to mixing. Now, there's a couple of reasons why we're using ink in this case as well as paint. Ink flows really, 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 really well. As an idea of how well it flows, let's get that guy out of the way. Let's use my hand. This is a crappy tipped synthetic brush, and I can get it to flow out in an absolutely even straight line. In a tiny line. That is... Let's give you a taste of how that flow is different. Now you can also do things. You can buy surfactants and stuff like flow aids, flow improvers that'll help do that with regular everyday acrylic paints. But I'm just grabbing some fall green off the palette here. Let's see if I can do the same thing with fall green. So you'll notice that while I am able to make that line and it's nice and straight and all the rest of it, it is more transparent, it is more translucent, it doesn't flow as well. There are points where either paint stops flowing or starts flowing more thickly. Yeah, that is life. That is using acrylic paint. That is, I mean, the paint's well prepared and everything. That's just why we use ink as a mixing medium when we want to do freehand stuff, because the flow on ink is insane and we want that insane flow right now because we're going to make ourselves some stars. So I'm going to start on the wings here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to choose something that already exists as a feature on the wings. So I've got this big open space. Let's put down a dot. Let's make it a bigger dot. Let's make sure that our brush is actually loaded. Let's put down a dot that is bigger than the other dots and is brighter than our other dots. Let's put another one. Let's make more dots. Yeah, the point of our more dots scenario here. These dots are over top of our other dots. They are over top of the wash. They are brighter in color. The reason we are doing all of these things, or have done all of these things, because now it goes from being like a field of like weird splotches to having depth. We're seeing depth introduced because we have stuff that is mixed into our background color, stuff in a nice bright foreground color. We are starting to see this stuff come together, and it starts to look like a star field. My God, it's full of stars. And in some places, we'll put stars closer together. In some places, they'll be further apart, and they will be different sizes. But always, there will be more stars because, well, not always, but we will put quite a few stars into this because having this shifting perspective of size, having different perspectives, gives us this sort of starry twilight feel that we're looking for, right? The entire point of this model was I wanted to create something that seemed like fall. Hey, Antonio! Thanks for subscribe, man! We wanted to make something that felt like stars. We wanted to feel like the ends of things. So whether it was the end of the day, the end of a season, the end of a year, we wanted something that felt like it was the end of things.
Thanks for subscribing.
So again, we're using our inks We're using a combination of ink and paint here because A, I wanted to tint the ink and I didn't want to use two different inks because I also want some of the control that is provided by acrylic paint. Oop, that one was an accident, but it was a happy accident. And again, we add them across the model, different sizes, different placements. Some of them come down into our mix. Some of them live way up high. It's all good. It's all good. Provides more context for our background. Now, if we had more room, if we didn't have the like membranes and stuff in the way, we could do shooting stars, we could do more full moons and stuff like that. But I don't want to do that on the wings here. I'm not going to do that on the wings. I'm going to do that probably on the glaive in a second here. But again, we're going to just replicate real quick, flip this over, do the same thing on the inside. So again, little dots, bigger dots, wherever you feel like putting dots. If you are replicating this alongside, or you want to use this effect on something else, it doesn't have to be on our little twilighty dude here. It could be somewhere else. And yeah, it makes sense. We put them down into our sunset, just all across the model, right? Let's get this other wing done. Same deal. And we just throw down some dots. Let's make sure they're dots. Now, they can be other shapes. There's nothing wrong with that. If I was going to put more detail into this, which we'll probably be seeing here in a moment on the glaive, if I was going to put more detail into this, my first thought would be, let's do a crescent moon, or let's do like quasar style stars. But on these wings are already very detailed. There's already lots going on here. So let's not overcomplicate this issue. Let's just let it be, right? Feels like there should be one there. And something right about there. And one more down there. And this guy needs one about there. Now, if we wanted to keep doing this, you could keep doing this. I'd come back again with our wash. I'd reapply the wash over top of the wings that we've got there, the membranes that we've got, that we've been putting, dots on. Come back, do it again. Come back one more time. Go back and forth, build up more and more highlights, build up more and more shadows, add more depth to this stuff. But this is my, Steve has a week off project. So at some point in time, these projects have got to come to a close. And sometimes projects coming to a close also means that we get to get closer to the ends of things, which is what we're about to do right now. So before I put highlights and stuff on the wings, before I get highlights on the veins running through the membrane and all the rest of it, let's assemble our model. Let's put this guy together. Let's start seeing where we're going with this. Let's see these final few steps visualized together. So pull this guy apart. Just gonna make sure I clean off any of the remaining bits of poster putty on this guy, as there is poster putty on this guy. And then we've got a few final details to put all across this model. So we've got some green gems. We've got some green on the well, obviously the carapace of our beetle friend here. We've got probably some green on the eyes. We've got still more stuff to do on this Arch-Revenant, but the last thing we're going to do today before I go offline is we are definitely going to fully assemble this model and put him on his base. So let's start off. Let's just make sure that everything is cleaned out. Oh, we still got crud all over this guy's backpack. Oh, we also got legs on this dude that we need to deal with. His His little beetle buddy has got legs on here that I did not paint yet. Let's get those let's get those legs painted. We can do that before we're done for today. So let's get those legs nice and painted up after we continue to clean out the socket for his backpack. His beetle bud. I'm sure it has a real name, but I don't care. Laura and I are friends only when Laura is easy to remember. All right. Pretty clean. Let's just make sure that we got nice crisp edges. Let's get our black green onto the beetle's legs on this part of the model. Alright, we are just about there. Give this a second to dry. Hit it with one more coat just because I'm not sure. Well, I know that this stuff is very obscured when everything is assembled, so I'm not super worried about getting tons of detail into it. But we'll at least make sure that it is the correct color. Alright. While we were waiting for that to dry, let's see if we can get the last little bits of poster putty off of this guy. Because I'd love to use plastic glue on him. This is the entire point of filling these gaps with poster putty when we are painting them. So that A, I can pull the poster putty back off. And we can use it to assemble. Got a little bit of speckling in a place I didn't expect it to be. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hate me because my puns are bad. Also, I'm not beautiful, so like hating me because I'm beautiful is like, nah, man, that not a good choice. Oh boy. So, plastic glue. 2 millimeter extra thin. Drop a tiny amount of this onto our little tab here. I can give it just a second. This stuff will melt, not just the plastic, but it will melt the paint over top of plastic as well. So just be careful. Don't overload it or anything. I give 10-15 seconds to tack up because it is basically acetone that is melting all that plastic. Then let's get it together. Oof. Oof. We're gonna need more glue. I can already feel it. It is not biting. It is not biting. We might have to swap over to super glue, let this dry for a second, and super glue it all together. Just always disappointing in my mind, because super glue and I don't know if you guys have watched this stream before, super glue and I are not friends. Never been friends. We'll probably never be friends. Huh. What is the contact? Oh, okay. I was going to say, is that just an alignment or is that an actual contact point? Turns out it's just alignment keys. That is just an alignment key on this model. So the actual contact points appear to be the legs. Alright, well, we're going to have to play the super glue game. Everyone hold your breath while I super glue myself to the table, spill super glue everywhere, and ruin this model. Because, you know, it's final steps, so now seems like the time to do it. I hate you, super glue. Super glue on the pin. Super glue on the model. Super glue everywhere. Okay. Let's see if we can get this to do its thing. Oh, I feel it gathering purchase. We may have actually glued this one without gluing it to my hand. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. It is glued. It is not attached to my hand in any way. My hands completely separated themselves from the model without being glued. We've achieved wonder and glory, ladies and gentlemen. Wonder and glory. There we go. We're fully assembled there. Let's pry it off of the temporary base that we've got it on here and put it onto its scenic base. Let's get that done. And that's probably where we'll end it off today. Thank you everybody for all of you who've joined me today. It's nice to meet so many new people. Antonio, thank you for the follow. Ticolito, thank you. Nice conversation. Mr. It was nice to see you, man. Let's get this guy pried off this temporary base and onto his final home. Then we'll call it a day. Then we will call it a day. Let's, before we get him entirely off here, let's scrape off our poster putty from the bottom of his foot, from the tenon here. Beauty. Let's get the last bits of poster putty off. Yeah, baby. Okay, then just break the super glue underneath of his foot here. So watch as I stab myself repeatedly. Beep. Oh goodness. Once again, it comes down to super glue and super glue is winning. You wouldn't think that an inanimate chemical mixer would be able to defeat me, but here we are. A lifetime of experience has taught me that I am no match for super glue. I feel that I am a good modeler, and super glue just has my number. A lifetime of assembling metal miniatures has not taught me how to be better at dealing with super glue. Only taught me that I'm better able to be defeated by it. It doesn't help that I'm trying very desperately to be as gentle as possible because the glue is letting loose on the backpack, and that's feeling bad. That is feeling bad. Because of all of our wiggling and waggling, it has loosened all of those glue joints, and now we are, yeah, it's not even on there. Of course. Of course not. Okay. This is why I hate use super glue. Dear super glue, be better. You know, I watch everybody else's streams. They're always like, and then you just pop it off and Bob's your uncle, right? Golden, continuing on. Life is beautiful. It just pops apart. Then there's me. I feel like I'm gonna stab myself, combined with break the model. Oh, we got one pop. Come on off. Come on, buddy. Yep, those are the right noises. Now give me the rest of the model. I hate you, super glue. I hate you more than I hate hot weather. I hate you more than I hate rejection. I possibly hate you more then I hate the cops. I hope this is at least entertaining, watching me struggle to detach the model from its temporary base, which has legitimately one drop of superglue attaching it to the base. This superglue has decided to live up to its name and has become super. I feel as if it has gained sentience and is in the process of thwarting me, as if it were Lex Luthor and I, a humble Superman. Meanwhile, the superglue on the backpack has let loose, and the superglue that's on my cutting mat has glued my pinky to the table on at least 3 different occasions now. So, why do I hate superglue? This is why I hate superglue. Gonna get me to ruin this model that we have spent all week working on together on stream. You know what? We're gonna end it here. I'm going to do this offline. You guys don't want to watch this. You will get to see the first thing that we will see when we come back tomorrow, because I will be back tomorrow, probably tomorrow evening. The first thing that you get to see is a fully assembled model. In the meantime, I am frustrated, hot, tired, and full of anger. I am Steve Thomas, Choice Minis. On your social media of choice, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, really anywhere that social media exists. I'm there, except for Facebook, because no. If you liked what you saw, I'd love it if you could give us a like. Helps to share the video around the YouTube channel. If you are feeling super generous, you could give us a subscribe or a follow on Twitch and or Facebook, or Twitch or YouTube. Obviously, I got Facebook on the mind because I'm thinking frustration right now. If you want to support us, you can always buy our merch. There's a link in the description, just in the Willow link. You can use any of our Amazon affiliate links that are down below if you're interested in any of the products we've used today. If you want to participate, you have comments, suggestions, would like to be on stream, or would like to just share your stuff with us, you can always email me and Adam, Adam's not here right now, but trust me, he wants us to. You can email the both of us. We're available at choiceminis@gmail.com. We will be back tomorrow sometime. I'll set up the schedule here in a minute, but right now I'm full of frustration and want to just murder superglue. The concept of cyanoacrylate glue just needs to be destroyed. But as I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks guys for tuning in. We will see you later.